Now we get to the Oilers and the Kings, and it's been an interesting series. Edmonton absolutely thrashes them in games 2 and 3, and then LA comes back in game 4 and was clearly the more desperate team from start to finish. They controlled that game. Jonathan Quick had one sequence late in the second period where he made a few saves, got lucky one off the crossbar. We didn't even have his glove on, and they still couldn't score on him. But Edmonton, they kind of abandoned their physical play that led them to dominating the games 2 and 3, where their forecheck and physical play led to turnovers. They really pressured LA's defense, and their offense fed off that. And last game, they just weren't as physical. And the other thing was, Frank, when they got a power play, they couldn't win a faceoff. They were 1-8. They won 1 out of 8 faceoffs on the power play, and every time the Kings would win it, right down the ice, you're killing off 30 seconds. So the Oilers are going to have to find a way to be better on the face-off, and that's mainly Draisaitl, who's their center guy. But it's also the wingers. When you're outmanning them, you've got to find a way and just say, Draisaitl, you tie him up. We'll come in here. We got an extra guy. And so I still think Edmonton bounces back the way they've controlled much of this series. But give LA a lot of credit, Frank, that they were a desperate team and they played like it in Game 4.
Well, that to me is the real knock against the Oilers, is just like we talked about with the Leafs. Where's your killer instinct? You have an opportunity to put your skate to the throat of the LA Kings and make quick work of them in this series. You could potentially win it in 5 on home ice, get yourself some rest, and watch the Calgary Flames and Dallas Stars beat each other up in what could be a long series. And instead, guess what? The Edmonton Oilers aren't good enough to take their foot off the gas. They just aren't.
Yeah, that's fair.
And to think that you may not have another game where your goalie shoots himself in the foot again, or you have some other catastrophic error in a game where your team is in the driver's seat, think again, because it can happen. And, when your team isn't good enough to take their foot off the gas and they do anyway, it's a lack of maturity is what I see. You have your stars that have the ability to step up. You've outscored the opposition 14-2 in the previous 2 games, and you don't find a way to put anything on the scoreboard. Disappointing. And I really think the Oilers may rue that missed opportunity to make this a short series. I think they're ultimately going to bounce back and win it. I don't think the Kings are strong enough. But to me, if you're looking further down the line, and there always needs to be learning lessons throughout the way on a deep run in the Stanley Cup playoffs, this was one of those warning signs to me that was like, okay, they may survive this series, but good luck pulling that off against a better team. It's not going to work. So certainly some level of concern. And I really love the messaging from Todd McClellan heading into Game 4. He said, you may look at the score sheet and it may say 14-2 in the last 2 games, but all that really matters is that it's 2-1 in the series, and you win 1 game and you're back to level ground. The Kings were much, much better in Game 4. And I've actually been impressed for a Kings team that is mostly shorthanded, especially on their back end. They've really found a way to compete in the opening game and also in Game 4, that this team has some jam.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Obviously, I look at Edmonton it's being a front runner series, Frank. Whoever scores first has actually gone up 2-0 in every game. So, first goal, and you look across the playoffs, what are teams scoring first are 24-4 so far in the playoffs. So, hey, first goal matters a lot. If you're watching tonight, you're a fan in any of those 8 markets that are playing. The first goal so far in this postseason has been monumentally important. And, in the Edmonton LA series, whoever scores first gets a 2-0 lead in every game. So, and 2 goal deficits are hard to overcome at almost any point of a playoff series. So I look for Edmonton. You're right, Frank. I think that's a very valid point, that wasted opportunity, because what that does is, even if they win in 6, people say, well, it's only 1 game, but it's the extra travel, right? It's the extra travel back to Los Angeles. You could have won.
Not the easy way. No. Stopping in Washington, getting on a bus.
Yeah.
That's a grind.